What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. Today we have a Mo from 3D Reefing. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Excellent, thanks. Good to have you on today. You are a very creative man, much like myself. We love a good DIY, so we figure it'd be kind of a fun one to talk about random projects, 3D printing, DIY. You've recently battled and won the dino battle with a cool new way to tackle it, so it's some fun stuff we can dig into today.
Yep. One of many things, many problems to solve. Yeah.
Oh, always, always. So how you been doing? How's the tanks? How's the reef life lately?
I've been doing good. Tank's doing pretty good now. Everything's stabilized. I'm pretty sure I got rid of dinos. I had LCA dinos, and then it's been a problematic tank, but right now it's leveling off. But through all the problems, I've been growing coral, so that's the best I can ask for.
That's half the battle right there. What I
Yeah.
guess what's is it just like problematic through the ugly stages or just between dinos and other stuff coming up or
I started this tank bare bottom actually, and you know what happened is really I've been reefing for about 12 years, and I got overconfident, so
yeah.
and didn't realize that could be a problem so much. So I just started going at it. It was like I'm gonna experiment and I'm gonna do it this way, and I should be good. And next thing you know, it was like one problem, another problem, another problem.
That's
Yep,
fair.
and slowly.
I have a
Yeah.
random question for you. So your aquascape, the one in the thumbnail, is mainly 3D printed. Do you think that lays into the fact at all of any of the funkiness of the tank stabilizing is having, all the pet G or whatever stuff or ABS or any of that type of
Um,
stuff?
No, the scape I made, so I made this modular fragscape. That was a result. It came. How do I explain this? I created that because I was having a problem with a
Okay.
scape that I had previously, which was actually life rock, and I think
Mhm.
other people have been mentioning issues with it.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
but it's not really a. So it's definitely not natural.
No,
First thing, but it's
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 it
more of
looks
like a
cool.
hybrid fragscape. I'd
Mhm.
probably call it for grow out more because I
Yeah.
the tank right before this one was actually I had a frag tank just playing around with it,
Mhm.
and I loved it. I loved being able to get in there, move corals around, and do all this stuff. So figured
Oh,
I kind of combine the two.
I
Yeah.
100% agree. Just I minimized it for a sec there, but you can kind of see the background. Like it's a really cool structure. I was close to fully 3D printing my new tank rock, but then I couldn't
Yeah.
quite get like the style I was trying to get, and then it didn't happen. But it's definitely a pretty cool way to do it, and the flow you
Yeah.
get through it all too is awesome, right? It just saves all that,
Yeah.
a lot of those issues.
It was an evolution. I had the thought for a long, long time, and I tried different methods through the years, and every year I got a little bit better and a little bit better
Hmm.
and closer to what I wanted. Yeah, so now it's pretty much done.
Labor
Yeah,
of love.
yeah.
So I figure let's talk about the dinos a bit because that's something that a lot of people have issues with.
Mhm.
And you essentially built a UV sand bed sweeper to kind of kill it off at the source, which I thought was a really cool way to tackle it.
Um, yeah. So dinos. I haven't had dinos in a long, long time,
Yep.
and I started doing crazy things because the rock I had before got very bad bubble algae.
Hmm.
It's just insane bubble algae. I started dosing razor, and then some weird thing in me, I started dosing iron, a lot of iron, and um, then I got dinos, and I used to tell friends how I didn't never had dinos for years and years, and now
Hmm.
all of a sudden, boom, it came out, and it was a months and months battle and trying
Such a
different
pain.
things. What's that? Is
It's
it?
such a pain to deal with, eh?
Yeah, it's until you have it, man, I could definitely see people have been calling it like a hobby killer, and there's different types. And what I had was
Hmm.
large cell amphidinium, because I started it with the bare bottom, and I just recently added the sand also, and then
Yeah.
just everything went crazy and out of whack. And the I was dosing silicates, I was dosing phyto,
Yep.
dosing bacteria, dosing everything, and the silicates were doing it, but they were still on the slides, and I thought at one point I got rid of them completely. Uh, uh, like a week later, I check a slide, more dinos are coming back,
Mhm.
and it was just like I was figuring I would have to stay on the silicates for 6 months or
Oh,
more, and
geez,
I
eh?
mean that's just like a lot, and you have to
Yeah.
stare at the tank like that every day, and I just couldn't
Depressing.
take it anymore, and I tried so many things, and so I just figured I'll put a UV, since this type of dino stays on the sand bed, and there's no way to get it with a UV sterilizer like you can with Ostreopsis.
Yeah.
So I figured try a little UV on the sand bed with a little shade on it,
Yeah.
similar to the lights.
I mean,
Keep it
hey,
away
that
from the coral.
well, that's the
As a
big
UV
thing,
on a
right?
stick, UV on a stick, and it was like a day or two, and it was a noticeable difference because I did one half of the tank with it.
Mhm.
So just to
Okay.
test it in,
Yeah.
in areas, and I probably sent you a picture where it was like 1 or 2 days.
Yeah.
So
So
that was the tank before.
there's the
It was
before.
bad. It was bad. Yeah. And then
Okay,
so
so
I
this
hit
this is
it. Yeah, I think I hit it there on the right side for about a
yeah.
day or two at that point, I think.
So
So
that's
after about 7 days, I would say 7 to 10 days, it was back to
pristine.
it was presentable, and I didn't have to deal
You're,
with it. But the
yeah.
thing was, it does take some work. Like you still have to put in some effort,
Mhm.
treat it every day. That's the UV. I think I'm calling it the UV sweeper. It's
Well,
a
that's
UV
the
on a
thing, right?
stick.
Because if it's
Yeah,
waterborne and you have UV in your tank, you're golden, right? But the ones that live in the sand bed, how do you kill it? So the
I had it
sweeping the
here.
dinos away. Oh, I don't even
Yeah,
need a photo. You got the
that's
real thing.
yeah, that was good. And it's the thing with the dinos is like you don't really want to disturb the sand bed. You want to try to what the basic general idea of treating it and of what everyone does now is like you need to shift the microbiome in the sand, and that's the only
Hmm.
way.
Yep.
So this is basically like brute force. When they come out in the daytime, treat them, you sterilize them. It's not really killing them, it's
Hmm.
sterilizing them. And basically you're leaving like the layer underneath untouched. So a lot of the organisms are not being sterilized. So maybe like a
Yep.
thin layer of the top.
No, and that's
Yeah.
that's it's such a good way to do it. And I don't know why no one's ever thought of it before. So that's like wicked on that one.
Yeah. I'm sure people have thought about it. I just probably
First I've seen it.
im-
It makes sense.
implementation probably hasn't come
Is
out.
this going to turn
So
to a future 3D reefing product, or
yeah, yeah. I
you
am
totally should?
I'm probably about a week or two away.
Oh,
I'm waiting for
perfect.
I sourced these UV sterilizers. I'm waiting for those to come in and then pretty much done. I'll offer it. It's still
Nice.
kind of in testing.
Hmm.
Probably have to write like a report on it. Maybe I'll do something on reef to reef, but you shouldn't it will take out diatoms. But you don't wanna with something like this, you don't wanna I don't want any new reefers to grab this and as they're going through the ugly stage, treat their tank and not let it complete what it needs to complete.
You know, if you sell it
Um,
as a way to kill the ugly stages and it works, it will probably sell a lot. But yeah, I know that's not the best way. Um,
I mean,
it makes me laugh right now as my tank's going through some of the uglies and the diatoms beside me, and I've been like bought a bunch more cleanup crew the other day just to like add more little armies in there, and it's the difference is crazy. You see like a white rock where the snails ban, and then the one that's brown where they haven't. But yeah, definitely got to pay your dues when you start.
yeah, it's something. I mean, you just let it go for as long as you can take it. I couldn't take it anymore. And I mean, the thoughts were there about restarting the tank, but you can't really get. It's like kind of like a bacteria, but it's not a bacteria, but it's like that trying to keep a bacteria out of your tank. You can't really do it.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
um,
You're better
you
to
have to
just
find a
fight
solution.
the
Yeah,
battle. I
yeah. This
know
is
when I've had them in the past, I've just thrown the kitchen sink at. I'm like, okay, here's UV, or here's the silicates, trying to compete it. I've literally just
Hmm.
everything you could think of thrown at it, and eventually something worked. It's hard to know what it was when you throw everything at it, but once you're past it, though, you're usually in a pretty good place for a while.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many stories of everyone is like, I did this and they went away, and then I
Yeah.
did this and they went away, and you never know. Nobody knows exactly. It has to be. I'm leaning towards bacteria. So what I do is I treat the tank with the UV, and then I would dose something like Microbacter Clean
Hmm.
to get back on top to try to
Yeah.
with brute force shift the
Hmm.
microbiome on the sand so it something else can take over. If something else doesn't take over, you're just going to be constantly
Battling.
treating it daily. So right now it's still kind of new, so I'm testing what can do it right. I've the best results I think I've seen is with Microbacter Clean and
Hmm.
Microbe Lift. But Microbe Lift, I don't know if you ever messed with that. It's pretty
No.
smelly.
Good to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to prepare yourself for that one.
Yeah.
It's
I
kind of
haven't
like
tried that one.
I'd say Microlift works better than probably Microbacter Clean, but
Okay.
those two are the top two. Um, PNS bacteria probably do the
Yeah.
same as Microlift.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good to know. Next,
yeah,
if I hopefully I don't ever do, but if I ever get them again, I'll try it just to add it to the arsenal.
yeah, yeah. Something we got something different now, hopefully. So still testing.
Hmm.
It's I've had a few other people test it and they tell me yeah, it's done the trick. It's
Hmm.
subdued it, and then the next process is giving it something else to take over.
Yep. No,
Yeah,
definitely. So, okay. So I know you're also hardcore into 3D printing. Were you into
yeah.
3D printing first or reefing first?
No, reefing.
Reefing
Yeah.
first and 3D printing came later?
Okay. Yeah, yeah. 2012, I think I started reefing.
Nice.
So yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
what is that? 12 years now? It's been,
Yeah, that's a good chunk. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, um, and just never quit since then. And I kind of, maybe had a few months of no tank and just don't feel right
Hmm.
without one. The house is not the same without it,
It
without a
I don't
tank.
know I don't know what I do without one. I somehow am up to three now. I'm laughing. I got like my big one, and then I have one on the side of the desk, one on that side of the desk,
Yeah,
surrounded. Like my life
yeah.
would be empty without a tank. It'd be weird.
Yeah, it's something. I guess it's a certain personality too. I tried to get friends into it, but then I started realizing you really got to love this hobby.
Hmm.
You really got to love this hobby to be a reefer. Um, Anybody can do it. It's definitely probably getting easier than it was when I started, when you started.
Yep. Do you
But
do you think all the automation and fancy tools makes it easier, or do you think it's just more rabbit holes?
it's more of what we learned, I think,
Hmm.
through the years. It's
It's fair.
definitely shifted since when I started, and I was being told to do one thing, which now we're told not to do.
Yep.
And yeah, different. Yeah, so it's definitely gotten easier with the knowledge base has progressed.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I, I, even now, though, I find I almost like I experiment a lot just to learn and try different things. And I always wonder too, how much do I shoot myself in the foot from doing so many different things? But at the same time, that's you learn all the different strategies and what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
gone through a lot of mistakes experimenting, but the learning experience makes it, I would say it's worth it. I call my tank just probably one big experiment constantly.
Exactly.
And
Like.
and right, yeah, right now this specific tank has been one giant experiment for about a year and a half now. And
Mhm.
now I'm just settling down because I'm kind of getting burnt out on the experiments, and now just I'm gonna focus on what works and keep it going.
Yeah. In the chat, um, Emira's
Yeah,
like, you can have space for reefing or printing, but not both. He's like, from my wife. So I was saying, you should just put your 3D printer in the stand, just hide it in there.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things you can make for the house too with it.
Hmm.
I fixed things around the house with the 3D printer.
Oh
So
yeah, mounts for
yeah,
things, fridge bracket shelves. Like
yep,
made the wife like ukulele and guitar wall hangers, like all kinds of cool stuff you can make. So useful.
yep.
Would you, what would you say is the most useful thing that you've made tank related with 3D printer?
Uh, right now, probably that UV sweeper because that
Fair.
was like just a nightmare to go through, and there was no solutions other than what's out there
Hmm.
that take months potentially. you know.
Yep.
So I'm really excited about that piece. Other than that, the shades for the lights, because since I've been doing that
Yep.
since 2018, um, the shades and diffusers for AI lights,
Nice. Do you know what's funny?
necessity for me. Yeah,
I bought a used whatever the big Creality Ender, the big one was, literally
yeah,
just so I had a big enough print bed to make XR30 diffusers.
yeah, yeah.
And I ended up selling that printer now, but I laughed. That was like the main point of this printer. So I had something big enough to print XR30 ones for a while there.
I had one. I actually sold it. I think it was a month ago.
Yep.
Because I built that one back there
Fancy.
is a Tronxy 400, so it replaced the
It's a good,
CR10 400 I had.
nice.
Yeah,
Pretty solid.
yeah, but it's a pain to build because the way it comes just doesn't work. It's the older one running on Marlin, and that's the thing with 3D printing. It's gone through its evolutions too,
Oh,
and only in the recent years have they gotten like really good.
oh yeah. I've had 3 or 4 over the years, and like from my cheap couple $100 China DIY one to now I have a bamboo one. It's like so much easier and better compared to like how much tinkering I used to have to do with the other one. It like, it works
Yeah,
great for a month and then it's a pain in the butt for a month and it was just like this ebb and flow back and forth.
I mean, what with the because I was printing so much, and that's the thing, you know, it's nice you can hit a button and it starts and you print and
Mm-hmm.
something pops out, but that's like only half the battle. A lot of
Yep.
times the machines are constantly breaking. If you don't have the right setup, it's going to be a struggle. And I eventually, I think it was probably after 2 years of doing it, I started designing my own duct and mounting
Yeah.
assembly for the enders.
Oh,
I
nice.
think I got a couple of them back there, and I ended up doing it. Most of us that do is eventually do our own thing with them to
Mm.
where they're easily uh, be able to do the maintenance on them
Yep. Yeah.
in
What
like let 30 minutes or less rather than a couple hours. Yeah.
the one fancy level I had with my original one is I made a magnetic mount so I could like disconnect and pop it off to like switch ends and stuff like that. I eventually went
Yeah.
to like laser cut metal ones, but for a while there's like, oops, I can swap in like a laser diode or like the 3D printing head, and yeah, it was fun, but
Yeah.
it was a lot of tinkering. I
Yes.
wish resin printing was more reef safe. I haven't tried any resin parts in a reef tank.
I never got into it because it's messy and it's smelly from what I
Yes.
hear. And it's way more
Mm,
chemicals, and I don't want to mess with that. I've done a lot of a good bit of ASA printing, and
is it pretty
didn't
nasty?
really mess with ABS. The smell when you do too, like
Mm,
you can tolerate a little bit. It's totally not good for you. I
yeah.
have like HEPA filters in here, but
Mm,
even then, it's just you have to vent it outside, and I can only imagine the resin printers.
yeah. For
They
the
have,
reef tanks, I know most people say either
yeah.
ABS or PET G. I tend to favor PET G since that's what water bottles and like food containers are made from. It seems the most inert to me. But what do you do most of your stuff that touches tank water and tank stuff out of?
If it touches tank water, it's PETG.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, TPU is also very good,
Mm,
but it's soft. It needs its own in for your specific applications. In the very beginning, I did before we even knew about this. I tried PLA, and I did
yeah.
have weird adverse things happening in my tank, and I
What
never
happened?
touched this. I just coral, coral polyp extension, everything just started
Hmm.
going. It just started getting worse and worse, and it's all anecdotal. But I pulled that. It was a little pod house I put
Yep.
in the sump, little, and I made it out of PLA. And just the moment I put that thing in the tank,
Mm.
things started going a little weird.
Huh. So,
I know people have used PLA and not had
yeah,
an issue, but because my own personal experience, I would never recommend it
that's
because
fair.
you don't know what's
Well, so my
going on.
original thought on this one is PLA is
Yeah,
made from corn, essentially, right?
yeah,
And biopellets are kind of made from corn. I was like, oh, it's like carbon dosing if it breaks down over time. Maybe, maybe not. I've
Yeah.
made like frag rack legs and certain things out of PLA, like PLA plus, just to see how it would hold up. And I mean, it held up fine. It's hard to say if there's any like adverse or bad reactions from it though. But
I mean, it could have been the brand I was using, and also
mhm,
maybe sometimes the color pigments they put in the filament. They're all brands are different formulas and stuff.
yeah,
Could have just been the brand I used, but just in general,
hmm,
I just stay safe, and if you can avoid it, avoid it.
that's fair.
PTG never had a problem. I never seen anybody have a problem.
Yeah,
So just fully
yeah,
recommend PTG for in
yeah. If
tank
it's a mount on the side of
designs.
the glass, I probably wouldn't worry about it. But yeah, if it's inside the water, then yeah, PETG for sure is the go-to.
Yeah.
Alex G
Yep.
using PETG and TPU. Yeah, good ones. Good choices, Alex.
Yep.
Your hang on the back of the tank fan thing's an awesome one. I've been using that thing for ages. That design you had for the fan holder.
The panel in the back wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I put that. Sometimes I take it off.
Yep.
It's acrylic because I also have a CO2 laser, and I like to mess with
Hmm.
little geometric pattern art
Yeah,
a
that's cool.
lot.
Oh, you have a laser too?
Um,
Oh man, I need one of those.
yeah, CO2 laser comes in handy, but it's definitely a lot more costly than the 3D printers. You can get the diode lasers, but they're not really good for acrylic. They
Hmm.
and they can't cut clear acrylic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
One day.
definitely don't want to cut indoors with that. It's not.
It's nasty, eh?
Yeah, it's a very lot of things. A lot of things around me smell.
That's fair enough. Good ventilation.
ASA, bacteria,
Yeah,
and acrylic.
someone in the chat was saying the exact same thing about a laser cutter. Like it needs to be vented. You make sure it's in an
Yeah, it needs to be
enclosure.
vented.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. One day.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can just make so many cool things. Like acrylic's such an amazing tool. Same with 3D printing, especially if you have the power to just like create different things.
Yeah, I mean, 3D printing is a whole hobby in itself, and it's something like I encourage anybody to, if they're not into it, try it. It's really affordable now. I think you can get a machine for, I don't know, about 100 to 150 bucks. It's not going to
Hmm.
be the best machine,
Yeah.
and it's going to need some tinkering, but if you learn it as a hobby that's productive, I don't think you can get a more productive hobby than 3D printing, and then you take it
True.
the next step and learn design.
Yeah.
Huge skill. Yeah.
100%. Like even the other day, we had this little camera thing, like this like little baby camera thing to like see the car seat. So I had to reprint a little
Yeah.
mount just because I wanted, because he just kept kicking the camera. So I made a little mount to put on the A pillar in the car, so it's angled and out of reach, and like just stupid little things. It's so handy. And like reef tanks, like the Nano beside me, I put a Versa on the tank, so I made a little 3D printer that hangs it off the back of the tank, so it's just out of sight, tucked away, nice and neat. Just so useful.
Yeah. And how satisfying is it too? It's it's so satisfying, and
You need
you come
something,
up
20
with
minutes later, you
something.
have it.
And it's an idea, and now it's a reality in like less than an hour sometimes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's great. What do you normally
Yeah.
use for modeling? Do you use CAD software? Or do you use some like the simple drag and
Um,
drop ones?
I use a Fusion 360.
Yeah, nice.
Most, I think it's one of the most common ones out
Hmm.
there. I started with Tinkercad. I mean, anybody can start Tinkercad
Yeah,
for beginners. Everybody usually goes to Tinkercad.
I still use them both. If it's something quick and dirty, Tinkercad's really easy. Do done. If I'm
Yeah,
doing something that needs to be precise, then I'll use Fusion.
well, that's what I kind of did when I was learning this stuff. I started with Tinkercad, and then I eventually became like what I would consider a Tinkercad god.
Yeah.
If you ever really got into it for a long time, and you can do crazy things with it, but eventually it's very it gets limited.
Hmm.
And then I would like start shifting over slowly into Fusion 360, which is I
Yeah.
think is the best way. And you start to you need something very specific. You can attempt it in Fusion 360,
Yep.
get the general thing you need, and then transfer it over to Tinkercad and finish it off. And the more you do that, eventually you're just one day you'll just find yourself full Fusion 360 making
Yep.
whatever you can think of. Yeah.
Yeah. So true. And the chat question: any issues using ABS in a tank? I've used ABS in
I,
the tank, and I have a buddy that strictly he only does ABS. He's obsessed with it. It's like his favorite thing to print, and he uses tons of it. And I don't see any issues on his end. I still prefer PETG, but I think ABS would be like the next best choice. What do you
yeah,
think?
I never printed ABS.
No.
The closest thing I printed was ASA, but ASA
Mm-hmm.
I believe will float, like
Ah,
will float really. Yeah,
good to know.
it's rigid and lightweight. I believe it'll float
I have to try that.
if you need
Uh,
something that floats.
you never know. You know, I was gonna make like a floating thing for like a probe holder, but then ended up just cutting like a slice of a pool noodle and save myself the time. But good to know that it floats.
Yeah, I
Um,
believe it floats. I'm pretty sure. Possibility. Yeah.
we'll find out one day.
Yeah.
Just covered Onshape online 3D software free, but have not spent much time using it yet. Haven't tried that one. Alex.
Onshape is nice.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Hmm.
But I think it's like, is it? I kind of just like I got into Fusion 360, and that's what I'm stuck on. Yeah.
That's fair.
Onshape, you can do similar things with Onshape as you can with Fusion 360.
Hmm. Okay,
Yeah.
so aside from the UV wand on the 3D printing side, what's been like the next most useful thing do you think out of all the creations?
Um, Useful wise, I mean, I don't have them with me. I mean, well, it's not 3D, but it's partially 3D. I have partially 3D printed and laser cut acrylic tweezers,
Hmm.
tongs, tweezers.
Yep,
I forget, I don't know which one to call them.
either works.
And yeah, those I use every day. I used to have fish feeders.
Hmm.
Man, okay. So probably every one product you see on maybe my website, there's probably like 3 to 5 other things I've made, but I just haven't released because of the
Yep.
time consuming. Because I actually run this everything solo.
Hmm.
So, um, but I mean, I made a calc reactor. I don't know if
Nice.
yeah, I made calc reactor. I can't lift it. I actually have this. Let me see if I can switch it over. I
Okay.
might release this. I'm testing this for dosing lanthanum chloride in the
Hmm.
protein skimmer. Let me see if I can switch this over. Oh yeah, there we go.
Nice.
So I have this. Um, I'm working on testing that as I usually am doing through projects at the
Yep.
same time. Um, Basically, you dose the lanthanum in through here,
Hmm.
and just to direct it into the intake of the protein skimmer.
Oh, nice. So basically, force it to get sucked
Yeah,
into the skimmer. That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
and maybe other possibility. I don't know if anybody still bubble scrubs, but maybe you can put that on the return pump and an air hose to hold it right
Hmm.
there. But yeah, I needed a way to better dose lanthanum chloride. So right now I have it on my tank
Nice.
and the dosing tube.
You could
And
also use that for a calcium reactor to put the fluid in front of the thing because it will help off gas it a bit more. It's another good use case.
yeah, um, oh, let me. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. No, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool
Now I
though.
can't turn I now I can't turn the camera around.
You're stuck backwards. Those are some cool speaker holders you got in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I don't know if the camera's stuck on the protein skimmer now.
it is. You'll be back one day eventually. Yeah, so this is Moe and his site's 3D printing if you want to check out some of his creations on there.
3D reefing is
Sorry, 3D reefing
3D. You can find 3dreefing.com. A lot of stuff I'm talking about today is probably not on there, but it will be.
one day.
Um, yeah,
I did put the
one
link in the
day,
description,
hopefully.
so you can find it afterwards too. Dun dun dun. Got a nice blurry skimmer. Lovely, lovely.
Yeah, I know. I keep hitting the turnaround, for the camera to turn around, and it's just not doing. There we
Oh, there
go.
you go. You're back. Welcome
All
back.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back.
No, that's
Yep.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Try to think what else you
Yeah.
another I don't know if like super simple ones I threw designs of these years ago, but even just like mounts for like dosing lines, like just little like C-shaped clips, just like keep all your tubes nice and organized. Like just 90% of my 3D printing stuff is like mounting for stuff, but there's so many things just to like organize and like keep things, neat and
Oh yeah, yeah. The
mount stuff.
power adapter holders and
Yep, those like I printed the mini.
Hannah
Yeah.
uh, Hannah tester reagent
Mhm.
organizers. There's so many. um, Lots of stuff available for the hobbyists too.
Yeah. Yeah, I did the
Even
mini
if you don't
trident a
know
while ago.
design.
Yeah. It's true. There's a
Oh, the mini
bazillion things.
trident.
Yeah. I
You
made
did
my own.
that?
Yeah, I have it for the housing. I changed the tray to go forward instead and just
Okay.
make it more streamlined
Yeah.
and float it off the side of my stand, which worked out pretty well.
And what
Um,
happens when you have to send it back for maintenance?
I
You got to
buy the
put it. You got.
DIY maintenance kit do myself.
Oh, okay, okay. I never had to mess. I only had the Trident for about a year. I love that thing.
Yeah,
Um, I haven't had to. I was wondering about that. If you switch it into that case, what do you do?
I still have the
So
case sitting
I
in
didn't
my
know they had
shed,
the. I didn't know
but
they had the maintenance kit. Okay.
yeah, that's what I did. It's like half the price. Then you just $75, I think it is, but then you just do it yourself, and it's not that hard, and it's really easy to do when it's not in the housing too. So then another big
Yeah.
win for the DIY one. Does he ever put himself publicly on printables or Thingiverse? You do have a bunch of free models.
I I I try to. So I mean I make a living out of this now, and
Mhm.
some things I might put on Thingiverse, and um, really what I gave back to was the community in 3D printing. Like I do have a what do you call it? Is it printables? It's printables
Mhm.
and the Thingiverse, but most of my stuff there is modifications for 3D printers. I think I uploaded a par meter holder
Yep.
and they sometimes I think there's a group for 3D, what is it, reefing, 3D printing and reefing group on Facebook.
Hmm.
I can't remember if I uploaded it there, but I know I made the post where I make something and I'll send a link to it. I made a piece that can hold like the rigid tubing to make it a bend. I don't know if you messed with that
I
tubing and you want to
haven't, but I
bend it
remember
and it
seeing it.
kinks
Hmm.
and it kinks. So I made kind of like I don't know how to explain it. It's like a brace for that
And
so it doesn't
an
kink
anti
in the
kink.
middle.
I remember seeing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, anti-kink brace.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Nice.
So, I mean, when I retire, I'll probably unload everything, but I
Yep.
just can't do it today.
Yeah, that's fair. There.
Yeah.
I put a link to some of my random stuff that I post, just like Neptune Apex module mounts and like little wire clips that go in 1515, just random little pointless things that I've made to make reefing easier.
Yeah.
It's all handy. Ice cap calcrafter funnel. It's like, little things. Quality of life improvements.
And sometimes, and some things I try to price it too. I try to price it where it's decent enough to
Hmm.
it's faster for your time than for you to even design it and make it and send it over. And there's like other things
Yep.
like there's a lot of things I can do where I'll go to another guy that 3D prints and I'll buy it from them. Like
I think that's the key
I
with
bought
3D printing, right? Like you're like,
yeah,
it's cheap enough. It's not worth me spending 4 or 5 hours on designing this. Like just spend the 30
yeah.
bucks and just buy it. Like,
Like I was gonna make a thing for bubble algae and I realized Fish of Hex had one. I go to his site, I'm like the price, good. I'm not gonna
mm-hmm.
mess with it. He's made it, done
Yep.
deal. And he did a good job.
Yep.
Buy it
Exactly.
from him. Yeah. And
Pretty.
support his business. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's the same way. There's been a bunch of stuff. I'm like, yeah, it's not worth the time and effort.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of times I get in Thingiverse, I have to modify the file almost like maybe 50% of the time.
Yeah,
And then
almost
it
always.
turns into a whole ordeal. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
The fun life of 3D printing.
Hmm. But yeah, even just
But
like,
I love
I
it.
don't know. It's fun. Like prototyping, you got an idea for a cool product. Like there's tons of stuff that I've made that I should turn into products, but I don't know. It's usually just me messing around with stuff, finding cooler ways to do things.
I love it. If it's useful and it's unique, send it
Hmm.
out.
Yeah.
Let people know. Are you interested? And do that. Sometimes the hardest part is like just releasing something
Hmm.
and getting over that hump right there. Just release it, see how people feel about it, and make sure it works. And when you design something, you have to spend the time and due diligence to test it out. You have to make sure
Oh
it's
yeah.
safe for the reef, especially when you're, we're dealing with live animals
Hmm.
and equipment, expensive
Yeah.
equipment. You have to test it for. Yeah,
A
I
while.
test. I mean, there's some things I've tested for over a year
And how
before.
many revisions and tweaks, right, to constantly improve it.
Yeah, and they go through evolutions. Like the Reefscape, I
Mhm.
tested that has been in my tank for that's at least 6 months now. At least I'm thinking closer to 8 months, and I constantly and I spent a lot of money test. I constantly ICP tested the
Yep.
tank to make sure there's nothing strange, unusual.
Has there ever been anything?
Um, I no nothing.
Yep.
I structurally sometimes I get in there and I kind of bang on it a little bit, try to make sure it's not getting brittle. It's going to crack on people.
Hmm.
So many aspects of it. Product
Yep.
quality standards, yeah,
Exactly.
and safety, and
No,
safety.
100%.
Yeah,
Alex G
yeah,
in the chat. I have a couple 3D printing projects on version 40. Yep, I feel you on that
yeah.
one. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh man, should I? Yeah, I don't want to show you the trash bin where it's
Okay. Geek Domo, what's his best seller? What do you sell the most of off your website?
AI prime shades and
Yeah.
diffusers.
Nice.
Yeah,
Popular one.
primes are probably the number one reef light in the world. I'd probably
Really, eh?
say
Crazy.
AI
That's all right.
primes. Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty good bang for your buck for those lights.
yeah, they're good light. They do the
Yep.
job. They grow coral.
They do.
Yeah,
They do. They do.
yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Any other crazy DIYs that you've come up with over the years for like on the reefing realm?
Oh man, I'm trying to think. Go around. Um, no, the calc reactor was pretty nice
Hmm.
for reefing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the calc reactor was pretty nice, but I had a problem sourcing the motors and just the time it takes to uh to put it all together.
Hmm. That's
I
fair.
think one day when I expand and I get help, I can release something like that.
Nice.
Other than that, I mean, I do other stuff. I created these speakers. Let me
I saw those. They look
non-reef,
cool.
n- oh,
Not reefing, but
non-reef related.
they look pretty sweet.
Yeah,
I like the
I
aesthetic.
designed. These are on printables. If you want to check those out. And
Nice.
what is that? They use like a vacuum tube little receiver, Bluetooth receiver. The
That's cool. Sound
shop
pretty
here.
good.
Yeah, they do sound good, but they also have a subwoofer on it, so
Yeah,
that fills it in.
that's awesome. So the stand's
And
also the port by the looks of it too, eh?
yeah,
Oh, that's pretty cool.
and now I'm stuck again.
It's okay. You flip back eventually. I just got I splurged on one of those plank auto feeders from a Vast, and I realized it's mostly all 3D printed. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. They did a pretty cool
Yeah,
job
they
on
do
it.
good stuff. I like a vast stuff.
Mm.
It's quality,
Yeah, I'm going out of
good
town. I
quality.
laughed and I bought this is auto feeders for my tanks as well. I'm like, okay, I bought two cheap EHI ones. I'm like, okay, I'll splurge on one fancy one to try it out. And no,
There we go.
it's pretty cool.
Had to click it like 5 times, and it gets closer and closer every time, and then eventually
Takes
gets
a
it.
while for that digital lens to flip, eh?
Yeah, but yeah,
Um,
um, yeah. I mix it too. 3D printing and reefing.
mhm.
It's
It's a good blend. It's a
it's
good blend. All the hobbies, right?
I couldn't think. I was trying to think of that earlier. I was like, what other hobby could be as useful in combining the two with like 3D printing and something else. I couldn't really, maybe because I'm a reefer, but I couldn't. I was like, maybe automotive. You're a
The
car guy.
Yeah, I mean,
I
like
couldn't
interior
really.
parts. The problem is the heat and all that stuff. Like you can't really do engine parts. You need like metal printers and or casting your
Yeah.
3D printed part. There's a lot more steps to go that far.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Mm. Um, takes TV.
Speaker making that would come in handy. Yeah, actually,
There,
if you're an audio file.
yep, there you go.
Yeah.
Model making, yeah. I with 3D printing, I try not to print like useless things. I see a lot of people at 3D printers. They just print like fidget toys and like desk art, but I try to only print useful things.
Yeah, I try not to judge. Um, if that's what you like doing, go for it. And that's a huge thing. I think I'd probably say most people with 3D printers are that's what they're doing with it.
Yep.
Props and model toys and things like that. And it's a
In the
huge boom in that.
oh yeah.
Dragons, the dragons, man, the dragons.
Yep.
They're
They're
everywhere now.
I like just my thingiverse earlier. There's one in there I did like a predator mask for Halloween Eve a few years back, which was kind of cool. Okay. What Sturgis Reef? What 3D printer caught on fire that has a fire extinguisher in the background now?
Oh, that's just for safety. So when I first started, you have to be careful with 3D printers because they can do some damage.
Mhm.
You don't ever want to leave them running and just leave the house, or have not have a smoke
Yep.
detector because my first printer, um, I think it's the one. Whoop, where is it? It's that one up there. That thing is so it has a heated bed. For those that don't know about 3D printers, it has a heated bed to keep the filament stuck onto the bed while it's
Mhm.
printing. The relay got stuck closed.
Oof.
Um, and luckily I was right there and I started smelling something and it was
Yep.
burning and the relay, even if you stop the print, um, I can't remember, but I think it was like even as bad as I forgot where the relay was. Even if I turned the machine off, it was still going.
Oh, that's sketchy.
But one way or the other, even if, no, I think when I turned it off, it was fine. It was one of
Mhm.
those things where they're supposed to have a safety in them to stop sending the power to the heated bed, but even that failed because the relay itself was fused
Oh,
closed.
geez.
So that freaked me out from the very beginning. So that's why the fire extinguisher. You never know.
That's wise.
Yeah,
Back in the
yeah,
day, my cheaper China ones, I would like, and I could have a smart plug on it. So if I'm out, I could like turn it off remotely if I had to. Just check the camera if everything was ever off. But yeah, I worry less about the bamboo and like the fancier ones now. But back in the day, with all my cheap DIY ones, they're a little more questionable.
yeah. Definitely. At least the bamboo has a like a Wi-Fi. It'll text you a message or
Hmm.
something. It'll
Yeah,
ding you if something's wrong.
yeah, which is kind of
Yeah.
cool. So which one do you use the most out of your 4 or 5 printers I see in the background?
Honestly, I still use the enders the most. If you
Hmm.
really want to get technical on it, there's some things where you can't print at lightning fast speeds to get the quality. So,
Most
um,
things.
yeah, you can do like PETG. I print it faster than I print PLA, but there's little problems with 3D printers and the motors that have they're stepper motors, so they
Hmm.
go in steps. And it seems like the fast ones they print now, if you want to print slower, I'd say like six under 100 millimeters a second, they start getting vertical fine artifacts. I don't know how to. Let's see here. Oh yeah, let me see if I can show this.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
You see you see
Yeah.
those vertical lines on there? They
Hmm.
start getting that, and and so some prints. Trying to figure out the best way to explain this. Some prints also, if you print them too fast, you'll get heat streaks going through the walls and it just doesn't look good.
Yeah.
And it's all about quality. And I like in my products I want them to look like if you're standing a foot and a half away from it, I don't want
Hmm.
anybody to know it's 3D print. You
Yeah.
shouldn't tell. Yeah. And if
No.
the light hits it in a certain way, you still shouldn't even tell, like,
Hmm.
but
I'm
yeah,
with you.
I'm actually, yeah. So the enders, they're like tried and true little
Yep.
workhorses. Um, but a lot of the stuff, yeah, like all the prototype stuff, the
Hmm.
bamboo lab all day
Yeah.
long just to spit it out, try it, see how it works.
I sold my ender because it was more finicky once I bought the bamboo. After like 4 or 5 months, I was like, okay, I only use this one now. Like I was mentioned the chat earlier, but like pre-kid, I would be like fine tinkering, but now with the lack of free time, I'm like just works. Doesn't make
Yeah,
appeal.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, if you're new to 3D printing, I would spend the money and call it a day and get a bamboo lab.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
But if you have lots of
because
time to tinker, then budget ones are perfectly fine. It
yeah,
just
if you want to, yeah, if you want to get into it for the pure hobby of it,
mhm.
yeah, you get a bed slinger ender for
Yep.
150 bucks and go all day, and that's a lot of the fun too. Is actually like that's one thing you don't get with the bamboo lab. You don't get that fun of like I remember when I first got it, of modifying the printer,
Yeah.
constantly making it better and better and better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
My single rail bottom ended up being dual rails and like laser cut
yeah.
aluminum beds and dual ZX upgrades. I had so many freaking upgrades on that original one.
Yeah, those aren't stock either. They have linear rails
Yep.
and big tree tech boards and volcano nozzles.
Yeah. I had a deposit on the Prusa XL, but then after I got tired of waiting after like 2 years of pre-order, and then I bought the X1 and I couldn't justify it anymore. So, but that looked like
Yeah,
a cool one.
I remember that poor Prusa. I don't know,
Yep.
bamboo's kind of taken over on them. And I was about to get a Soval SV08, but they were on a long waiting list, and
Mhm.
I ended up I have another bamboo on the way. Um,
Yep. I heard rumors are
is
coming out with the big one, probably something to compete with the XL.
Yeah, for me, if it's not over 350 millimeter bed
Yeah.
as for a large one, I
Hmm.
probably pass.
Yeah. No,
If they say like 300, I'm like, that's not enough
yeah, 350 to
for a
400.
large.
Need
Yeah,
big stuff. Yep.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's fun. Alex, if I recall, you're making like your own. I feel like you're making propellers and popping them on like Vectras and crazy things to make like giant power heads on Alex. Like he was doing some crazy stuff for his big tank. I'm pretty sure he was doing some fun stuff like that. So yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean,
What's the physically the biggest aquarium related device you've made, like volume, like substantialness out of 3D?
um, probably the Radeon XR30 shades. They
Yeah,
don't go in the aquarium, but I mean,
that's fair.
if it, the fragscape itself, when you combine them all to the pieces, that's a huge one, and it's actually pretty hefty.
Yeah, no, that's why I bought the one printers, literally just to make my shades. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you can make your own scape in one solid piece. Like I thought about that, but I think I seen that guy IC Live does that where he does his big octopus
Hmm.
uh arm frag that frag holder arm.
Yeah,
Um, but that's tricky too. I forgot how he did it because you can't trap the air underneath too. You have to wait for it to be
mhm.
solid completely.
Yeah. I think I sent you photos when I was doing it, but I was trying to design for a while. I spent a lot of time on this. I learning not what's a 3D program that's very popular. Mind blanking. Anyways, whatever the main 3D one that's so open source and free.
Blender,
Blender,
is
yes.
it?
So I literally
Oh,
learned Blender because I was trying to
I
figure out how
can't
to
do
make.
Blender.
It took me a while. There's a lot of late nights with this to make my own Tonga branch 3D model, and I was trying to do that Veroni effect where it's like all holy, but trying to make it look really cool, and
Yeah.
make my own basically water flow through it Tonga branches. I spent like so many hours on this. I was going to 3D print my whole scape, and that'd be really cool. But then I just could not get it to look exactly how it was envisioning my mind, and it just didn't happen. I still might go back to that eventually, but it was this kind of a funky way to make like organically looking Tonga branches that also had, wouldn't trap the air. You could
Yeah.
poke corals into it.
Doesn't
Stuff
float.
could flow through it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, right? Because you couldn't do
Yeah.
solid, or otherwise a bazillion pounds of filament, or is going to float. But
Yeah, I think there is a way. I can't remember a long time ago. I think on Cura, so you need to use a slicer for the 3D printer. On Cura, there was a way to make it a mesh. You
mhm,
could print it somehow. I forgot how it was. I remember people were doing it with skulls and stuff a
yep.
lot. Yeah, but
Oh yeah, yeah. I know that look. But yeah, I was trying to do it through Blender, but I just couldn't get the look to look like natural organic enough. Like a couple test objects I could, but not once I built some big crazy Tonga branch. But the cool
yeah,
tools now, I was taking you can use like basically AI to make a 3D model off an image. So I'm like finding pictures of Tonga branches, getting AI models as a base, then modifying them after there. It is crazy what you can do now.
Did you
You
do
get
it? Did it?
Oh, I
Did
have
you?
about
Did you?
10 or 15 models, but I'm just not super happy enough for them to be like my permanent aquascape. I have lots of
Okay,
like
yeah.
potential things, but not it's not there yet. It's not perfect. So I couldn't do it yet. But
AI is getting somewhere, but I think it's not there yet.
no, it's not do it for you, but it's like a base to start with to like get you
Okay,
closer.
like a starting point, and then take it in.
Yeah,
Blender. I haven't messed with Blender a lot. Blender is really a lot for organic shapes,
yeah,
more than anything. You're not really a mechanical design of anything. It's more
yeah,
for yeah. So Tonga Branch, good place for
yeah. That's what I mean. There's no way I
Blender.
could do that in Tinkercad or Fusion. There's no way you're gonna get organic shapes like
Yeah,
that. But
I
yeah, it's
could
fun.
do it. You can do it in Fusion, but that would be a whole episode to explain that one.
Well,
Yeah,
all right, one day you'll have to teach me the ways. I'm still a novice in there. I can do stuff, but it takes me a while to figure it out. And of watching a bunch of YouTube videos as I go.
yeah,
Yep. I think you do that mesh mixer. All right, I'll try that one day. Good to know.
yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Other cool stuff. My original 3D aquarium product that I came up with a bazillion years ago, probably 10 years ago, was for the MP40s. I made like a clip that would go on it to block part of the flow on it, and I called it my
Hmm.
anti-sand dune plate because all the undertow would always create sand dunes, and it would just cover that little part of the bottom, so it'd reduce the suction on the bottom. That was like the original thing I designed, and I spent far too much time on it. It worked really well though, actually. I don't know if I have that model still, but it was cool.
Yeah,
Yep. Dun, dun, dun.
nice. How's the new tank doing? I haven't.
So far, so good.
You get
I
it?
mean, it's going through a bit of the ugliest, but aside from that, I've put some coral frags in there, and most of it is living and pretty happy. I put
Okay.
probably 3 or 4 branches I cut off of orange passion, which is the one that I wanted in there. And I had one STN and the rest all lived in there happy. So the other night I fragged a few more branches and put them in, just let them kind of grow together, make a little colony for future. So I have a couple of different test subjects in there, and so far so good. So when I get back from my trip,
Nice.
I'll probably add some more, if providing they're all still happy and doing well.
I think my next experiment, even though I said I don't want to experiment anymore, I'm
Hmm.
gonna probably do the ammonia dosing experiment.
Yeah, just to see.
But I kind of started it a little bit, but I'm not noticing much difference. But I need to tone it down a little bit.
Is this
Where
more to end up with nitrates, or what's your goal here?
I you know what I think it is, but it seems like a lot of things in reefing people don't really like. It's all anecdotal, and they don't know exactly what's happening, but they know this brings results and better results than this previous method.
Yeah.
But I think it all has to do with I've been following Salem Clemens on it. It's a lot of to do with the bacteria,
Hmm.
and I'm thinking that dosing the ammonia might bring up some certain type of bacteria species that we don't necessarily have an abundance of in say a new tank. So
Yep.
I'm trying to test that out and maybe send a alkobiomics test once I get that going after like a few weeks.
Let me know how that goes. I'm curious. I have a bottle of ammonia sitting there from pre-cycling my rocks, so maybe I'll try it if it
Yeah.
works.
That sprouts out from the dinos where and I got a microscope. I just hit a whole nother. Nobody told me how cool a microscope was for the reef tank
Oh, it's
until I
that's
hit the
another hobby.
dinos. Yeah, and I was like, man, this is freaking. I didn't know I liked this so much. I should have been totally took a different career path.
It is
Um,
amazing how much life is in a drop of water, like on the microscopic scale.
yeah, yeah. As long as you're not freaked out by it, because after and then you realize, man, this stuff is everywhere, getting everywhere, all over you, all the time.
It makes you
You
second
know?
guess starting a siphon with your mouth after that point.
Yeah, yeah. But I loved it. I've been digging into the bacteria of the tank so much to where I end up messing with it too much, and
That's
I'll
fair.
just leave it alone.
Yeah.
But I've been enjoying the aquabiomics test lately to see what's happening, what's shifting.
Hmm.
But the thing with those tests, it's always kind of temporary. Temporary. You got that snapshot right at that moment, but then a few weeks you don't know what's next.
Yeah, that's true. One day I think it'll be I'll have to do like a microscopy stream and do stuff. The problem is I don't know enough about it to like teach it. I just think it's cool and like looking at stuff under it, but be kind of fun one day. I bought
Yeah,
one that I can put a camera on it, do that little monocular tube on top. So
yeah.
potential.
I've bugged a lot of my friends with it too. I'm like, look at this, look at these. Do you know what these are? These
Behold
are
my tiny
dinos.
creatures.
These are dinos. This is bacteria.
Yep. Look at the diatoms. Looks like a
This is
tiny crystal pizza.
diatoms. Look at all these diatoms, millions of them,
Yeah, exactly.
doing good. Yeah.
Uh, Quarter-pound bucket of ammonia. You can buy ammonia in powder form. Geek Moto. I accidentally bought a quarter-pound bucket of Fritz ammonia when I started my first tank. Used literally one baby scoop out of it. That's a lifetime supply and a half there.
So I've been yeah, the ammonia thing. I always have to dose nitrates in my tank, even though I don't have rock. I
Mhm.
have to dose. I still have to dose nitrates in there. So I've been trying to see if the ammonia is just a better way of doing it. And from
So
what I'm
far, yeah.
seeing them say, kind of need to stop getting on all the hype, maybe. But the hype is saying it seems
Well,
pretty good.
if you think about it, fish breathe, and they release ammonia in the water, right? So, and that at the end of the day turns into NO3. So it kind of makes sense, right? You're just putting the raw source rather than food or something else to break down into it, skipping a few steps.
Yeah, maybe I can use a skimmer injector for that. Actually, I just thought
Probably,
about that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Use it for
but
all kinds of stuff.
yeah, I'm thinking to shift the bacteria.
Hmm. Yep, good reasons. But yeah, no, I think for doing the lanthanum dosing is a great way to do it, and you should also test out the calcium reactor too, because supposedly dosing the effluent there will help. Not massive,
Yeah,
but give you a little more of a pH boost out of it, just to off gas it a
I,
bit.
that's one thing. 12 years of reef. I've never messed with a calcium reactor yet. So
Oh, got to 3D print one now.
maybe yeah, when I do get one, maybe something else will
Yeah,
come out of the shop for that
yeah,
if I run
because
into problems. But I don't see anybody having much problems with those.
necessity is the
It
mother of
seems
invention.
yeah, seems like a set it and forget it kind of thing.
No, totally. That's fun though. But that's the thing, right? It's like all these little things pop up, and you're like, oh, I can build something for this. I can solve something for this, and it's how you come up with all these cool ideas. So,
Yep.
dun, dun, dun. I've been only half reading the chat the last little bit, but if you guys got any questions or anything, let me know. Yeah, this was fun. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
trying to
Sorry.
think of.
Hopefully I didn't ramble too much. I
Ah,
don't
it's good
know.
rambling. Yep.
But yeah, definitely most productive other hobby you can do is 3D printing, I'd
Yeah.
say.
100% with you on that one.
Excellent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If you're not
Uh,
into 3D printing, I apologize, but you should just get into it. It's super handy. It'll make your life
yep.
easier. All kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Let me know how the ammonia thing goes later. I'm curious. Like it makes sense, but I've never tried it.
Yeah, it'll be I need things to stabilize a little more in my tank.
Hmm.
Because I've been off the silicate dosing a dino battle.
Yep.
I was doing the CRT concoction for a while, and I got good results from that.
You still doing
From
it?
his con. Am I still doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, actually, like
Hmm.
not as much as I was, and I'm starting to think that he's totally onto something because as much as I experiment
Hmm.
and going through dinos and dosing this and dosing that, man, I have a lot of acro in there, and I was expecting I'd lose like half of them. I haven't lost anything.
Nice. That's promising.
It seems like, and I used to lose torches to like pathogens, which got me on the aquabiomics testing and starting the CRT concoction. It seemed like all of that stopped. So it really seems like maybe it's a, nutritional issue there,
Did
as he was saying. There's something to it.
Have you done aquabiomics after using the concoction for a while? And did you notice any difference?
Yes, I did that, but I also did some other things because I experiment too much.
Makes sense.
And that was so I got Ostreopsis dinos for a bit. I needed to eliminate that, and I started microdosing bleach.
Did it work?
And
I've heard that
Oh,
actually. Never tried it, but I've heard from
it worked. It's
yeah,
super cautionary thing. Caution to anybody thinking about doing it. It's kind of like the
yeah.
H2O2
Mhm.
dosing.
That
Yeah,
one
it
I can
wipes it
get
out.
behind. That's fine. I can get behind that one. That's tried and true in my mind. But
Yeah,
bleach, I've heard it a handful of times, but I've never tried it.
it worked very good, very well, and it was literally the osteopsis was gone in like less than a week, maybe 5 to 7 days. I didn't
And
have
no,
any evidence of it anymore. And then that wasn't using a UV sterilizer. But the thing is, you have to be very cautionary because take a lot of caution with it. It can kill fish, one, and then if your parameters are not right on your aquarium,
mhm.
you have too much ammonia. You don't want to microdose some bleach.
That's a fair point.
And I think something with a
Mhm.
bromine. Is it bromine
Okay.
or bromine? Yeah, I think
One of the two.
something it has a reaction to that. Yeah, to bromine.
Now,
So definitely do.
how much did you microdose out of
But
curiosity? Like, was it like
yeah,
what
there's also like you can't just throw any bleach in the. Oh man, I can't. I talked about it on here.
do at your own risk?
Yeah, just totally at your own
Probably just
risk.
don't do it.
There is a long thread on Reef to Reef about it, and there's a lot of
Mhm.
pushback and a lot of this and debates on it. Um, but there's specific like bleach to use, and then don't
Non-scented,
ever,
nothing extra, pure only.
yeah, no scented
Yeah.
ever, yeah. And then it was like my 80 gallon. I have like an 80 gallon with a 20 gallon sump. At the most I was doing was like 2.5 milliliters
Okay. Per 100
every
gallons
12
ish.
hours,
Okay.
very micro dosing.
Yeah.
And then and I'm trying to think. And bleach also has a percentage on the bottle. How much bleach is in there? I
Mhm.
forgot what the specific term is for it. Or the name of the bleach.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, there's a specific percentage on there. So you don't want to get like 15% and do that much. Because the one I was using was like 7%.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a risky, slippery slope. But honestly, the corals didn't affect the corals on the other way. They actually got better polyp extension. It was kind of
Mhm.
strange. And the tank looked super duper clean. It was like
Huh.
obviously it was like bleach just cleaned it out, and then I read somewhere that it will take out some gram negative bacteria.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going off the wall with this stuff. I probably shouldn't. You guys
You know,
don't do what I do. Listen to me
it's
crazy
not
and
advisable, but go read the Giant's Thread before you decide anything. I was just
yeah.
curious to know more because I've heard about this, but I haven't ever dug into it. So,
Yeah, I really think there's like, yeah, it's crazy to experiment it, but I really think there should be more study into certain things for certain problems that we have where it can potentially be something to it,
but even like,
especially against hobby killer things like dinos.
yeah,
And
but there's stuff too like hydrogen peroxide, like H2O2. Like I use that as a dip for ages. I'll use a spot treat my tank. I do know people that have had it on a doser, and you know, as long as you're not overdoing it, there's benefits, right? Anything that you overdo
yeah,
can be trouble, but all is well in moderation for most things.
but yeah, I think too much of that. I mean, you'll start killing stuff. Too much hydrogen peroxide,
Yeah,
start
too much
wiping
of
things
anything's
out.
trouble. I
Yeah.
remember
Um.
back in the freshwater planted days, there was like something for a liquid carbon source that I used to do, like cell, I think it was called. And
Mhm.
there is like I figure whatever the big ingredient was, and you buy like the medical grade thing, and same thing. You can make your own version of it, but you just got to dose way less, right? All's well in moderation. um,
Yeah, you
can
always have to be careful. This is definitely more advanced stuff. Um. That's only why I'm crazy enough to try it. Is like after years of doing stuff and
Yep,
an addiction to experimentation on reef tanks. What I call it giant. One giant experiment is my reef tank.
yep, for sure, eh?
But at the end of it, like, so I'm not sure if so coming back to it, I'm not sure. It could have been the CRT concoction or a
Hmm.
little bit of microdosing bleach. I'm not sure, but I had like 3 pathogens in the tank, and I honestly I dosed. I was doing anything to save these torches, and I actually did a full tank antibiotic treatment, and I sent in like several aquabiomics tests, and it's
Hmm.
crazy because the antibiotics did not wipe out the pathogens I had. I don't know why.
Really, eh? Dang.
But at the end of it, at the end of doing the CRT concoction and stuff, two of the pathogens were not detected on the test,
Ah. Oh, that's
which is
promising.
unusual. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Where
more
can we?
testing to that. I leave that you guys need to listen to other people about that and not me. I'm just
That's
kind of
fair. Okay, so
no scientific background on that on
Will is
bacteria.
at Will is asking where you can check out more videos and stuff of your tank. Instagram, probably the best place.
Instagram, yeah, 3D reefing on
Here,
Instagram, and
here's a clip from your post dino treatment.
yeah, there's oh yeah,
It's a solid torch collection.
that was yeah like a little bit better. Yeah, that's why I was freaking out and took extreme measures.
Hmm.
Um, I lost
Yeah.
Holy Grail torches, OG
Ah,
Holy Grail torches, and I was losing it.
dang. That's no fun.
Yeah, pathogens, and I think the best advice is take it easy on the amino acids.
Yeah. You
Amino
think?
acids cause some serious problems I've learned lately.
Hmm. All is well in moderation. Too much can be trouble. Can eat the bad stuff as well as the
Yeah,
good stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the scape I have there's a 3D reefing on YouTube, and that aquascape
Mhm.
is on there. There's a video you can see it more of how it goes together.
Nice.
That I have them, and if you're interested in that, you can reach out to me, like contact by contact. Um,
And I did link his website below too, so it's nice and easy to find in the
yeah,
description.
yeah. So on Instagram, you can follow him if you're interested in the UV sweeper, which is awesome because,
Hmm.
geez, if you fought dinos, LC Amphidinium dino
Yep.
specifically, yeah, could be a new solution to that I'm
Nice.
excited about. A
How
hobby killer.
intense of a UV light did you use on it?
Um, I've used right now. I have them with a 13-watt
Hmm.
UV. I've used a 7-watt, and did it did the trick.
Yeah.
You don't want to like if you want to build something to try it yourself. Uh, you got to be very careful to shade that device, and like it will kill coral,
Yeah.
and you gotta like but and so like when I release these pretty soon, um, you would have to no more mess on the sand bed. You'd have to lift all your coral up on the racks
Yeah.
and
Huh. Okay.
relearn how to clean the
Did
sand bed.
how did you learn that it could kill corals? Did you do this by accident?
I had one. I think it was what is that? It's like a cyphastria. Is that what it is? Kind of like plating on the.
Yeah. And it killed it?
Yeah, and yeah, I had one little. It didn't kill it all the way, but like
Hmm.
where I ran over it a couple times, I noticed it stops growing in that part.
Hmm.
So the UV is definitely doing something. You don't want to look at the UV bulb because it's got the spectrum where it's invisible, you can't see. But I've
Yeah.
tested, the reflections okay, but you don't want
Hmm.
to, sit
Yeah.
there and stare at your sand while you're doing it like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but it's a very useful tool. I'm
Hmm.
kind of right now after using it for a while. I've been looking at it as useful as a tool as an algae scraper
Yeah.
because the dinos.
Yeah. No.
I'm
Awesome
still
for that.
traumatized, but still traumatized.
Dude,
Yeah,
it's a great idea. I mean, especially for killing on those surfaces, right? Because if it's free flowing, most people, if you have UV, is going to deal with it. But if it's not living in your sand bed, how are
yeah,
you going to kill it, right? So, like, there is other
yeah.
methods, but that's really cool that you can kind of directly spot treat
The
it.
beauty of it is leaving the microbiome underneath thin layer
Hmm.
still intact.
Yeah.
That's the key to it, I believe. And I mean, because I've heard of other people, you've taken the sand out. You can
Hmm.
there's some extreme measures people go to get rid of these
Yeah.
dinos, like restarting the whole tank. Rip clean, I think they were calling
Crazy.
it rip
Jeez.
something, and then the dino come back anyway. And
Oh,
on top of that, you're taking the whole sand bed, you're destroying all the microbiome in it, and then putting it back into the tank.
yep.
This way, you're focusing the target, you know,
And how
dinos
how long are you like sweeping or hovering over a specific area for?
very slowly. So I'd say you probably go over an area like,
Okay,
you
so it's
know,
under it for like 5 to 10 seconds per area,
so
probably
I
by
do
the
my
time it
tank's about
sweeps.
4 foot by 2 foot tank, so I'd
Mm.
spend maybe about 15 minutes
Okay.
just going over it. And I started kind of learning that now that you clear the initial full blown
Mm.
outbreak and you get the sand pretty white, now you can go in there, you kind of tap it a little bit
Yeah.
and you can get a little bit deeper, and that seems to be like finishing it off.
The double tap
I,
finish off.
it's still unsure how much it takes to fully, like, like, when can I stop using this and the dinos
Mm.
never come back? Like, I've
Yep.
I've gone like 3 days, I haven't seen anything, but then I went and did a water change and I siphoned my sand thinking like, oh,
Mm.
it's all gone. And
Yeah.
then it started popping, like I started seeing the dark areas come out. So then I did it again and now it's all gone again.
Well,
So
hey, it's a really cool idea, and more experimenting the better, right? So figure out what
yeah,
works, and
yeah,
super cool,
super
man.
excited for that one.
Love it. That'll be awesome. All
Okay,
right,
yeah,
all
all
right,
right,
all right,
yeah,
all right, buddy. I think we'll wrap her up. But yeah, no, it was definitely a good one, and I think that's gonna be a really cool product once you fully develop that.
yeah. I appreciate you having me on, and yeah, you guys follow me on Instagram's probably the best place. I post little things of little experiments and stuff I do. I'll
No,
try to do more.
keep on experimenting, sharing it. It's fun. I love to
Yeah,
see all these mad scientists thing. It's half the fun of the hobby.
yeah. I mean, 3D reefing is a business, but I'm more of a reefer than anything. I do it for the love of the reefing more than anything. And
Yeah,
yeah,
no, love it, man.
everything else is bonus.
Yeah, love
Yeah.
it. Geek Dome, what a great show. Thank you. I will follow you there. Perfect. Yep.
Okay.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. As always, if you did, hit the like button, you subscribe. Make sure you check out 3D Reefing, Instagram, YouTube.com. And yeah, thanks again, Mo. Appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks.